I'm Andy Phillips. We're back in the garage this weekend working on the Countach project. Have a couple things on the plate, not a lot, but the biggest one being rebuilding this passenger side fender. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, basically what I'm going to do is from the front of the car to just about, maybe about 12 to 18 inches of the door has some fire damage. As we talked about in the previous video, this car was parked for a few years next to a house that had caught on fire before it was thrown out into a field. And so this whole side here had fire damage. Now, there's no damage to the actual body itself. The body's fine. It's just that the surface has damage. So we need to sand all that down, go ahead and prep it. I'm going to take a little bit of body filler and just kind of smooth it out and make sure that there's no imperfections, get that all done. So that way we can get it prepped for priming and painting, hopefully to get it all painted within the next 4 to 5 weeks so we can get that behind us before the winter kicks in because this garage is not heated. The other thing that I want to do, and we can go around to the back and I'll show you what the other pieces are. Okay, before I go into what we're going to cover this weekend, just to show you here what we're doing, went ahead and changed the color. Originally, on the last video, we talked about possibly going with a vintage gray, which actually matched the interior really well. However, in my opinion, it was very blah, didn't look sporty enough. And I think with the black accents and stuff, I don't know, it just looked too washed out, like just like a big blob, because this is a very wide car, flat and wide, and being gray, I mean, it just looked like a big glob of clay or something. So I think I'm going to go with this cranberry red, which ties in the burgundy of the interior and the gray really well, and it looks really good with the accent, so I think that's what we're going with. Now, getting back on schedule, what I'm doing is I'm moving this, the license plate light. Currently it was further back, but since we added this bump out down here where the plate needs to be mounted, I need to move it more towards the edge here so it shines down properly, so we're moving that. Another thing here, you'll notice that the tail lights have been pulled out. We were having a little bit of an issue with the reverse lights not working properly. We discovered that it was a loose ground on the battery terminal, so went ahead and fixed that so we can put that in. But as just mentioned at the beginning of the video, the main thing is that passenger side fender, getting all that damage fixed and getting it all smoothed out for priming and painting. So let's head over there and get moving. I went ahead, sanded all the rough stuff off, and it's actually pretty smooth. Most of it came off easier than I thought, so that was a good thing. Had a little bit of a rough spot down here. I think this is where most of the flame damage was on the lower part here, but that's pretty much smoothed out. You can see that this top coat right here is all busted up, or I believe that's the gel coat on fiberglass. I'm not that educated with dealing with fiberglass, so this is actually one of my first times messing with it. Either way, everything has been sanded down. I'm going to go ahead and clean it off, wipe it off, and then we're going to go ahead and use some fiberglass body filler and just put a light coating over this area here and then smooth it all out just to kind of fill in all the damaged spots. Let that dry, then we'll sand it down and see how that looks. Here's a close-up here of everything sanded down. All the rough spots have been taken off. Come in here. And everything has been cleaned and wiped down and getting ready to apply the body filler coating there on the surface so we can then level everything down. Going to mix the fiberglass body filler. You want to mix the hardener with the filler. However, you want to mix it very well, but you got to move fast because this stuff starts to dry in 3 minutes. All the body filler has properly dried. I'm going to go ahead now and just sand down this first coat and then see what other imperfections are left afterwards. Then we'll give a second coat to touch that up, and that should pretty much wrap it up. It actually went on pretty good, and it looks good. I also went ahead and applied the body filler, sealing the gap where we added that bump out above the rear window. Let's go in the back and I'll show you. You can see here that all has been filled. We'll let that finish drying, and then we'll also sand that and get that nice and smooth. It'll have a little bit of an edge coming down, which is how I want it. And then that'll wrap up for that. And then the only thing left is around the back tail lights. We'll do that section next. Okay, I'm done sanding everything down. It's actually very nice and smooth. Turned out really good. What I'm going to do is clean up in here, and then we're going to wipe it down, let it sit overnight, dry real good, and then we'll come back in the morning. Then we'll take a look at it and see if there's any mild imperfections that need to be touched up. And then that should wrap it up for this fender. Started sanding in the back on the bump out above the window where we mended that. So I'm going to head back there, get that sanded up, and we'll be right back. Finished wiping everything down, and it's actually very smooth, but I did notice right here, there's a crack right here. Now the former owner had bottomed out, he had told me, and that's why the underneath scoop had been ripped off. And it looks like when it did, the strain here cracked here. So once I'm done prepping the body before paint, I'm going to go behind it and we'll put some fiberglass material and some resin, and we'll go ahead and strengthen that back up and fix that. We're now on day 2, working on this fender. Everything's been smoothed out. A couple areas that I noticed after I sanded it down that had a couple flaws still right here, right on this corner piece right here. So went ahead and built that up with some body filler, getting ready to sand that down. Also smoothed out the mending of that bump out near the rear window. Let's head back there and I'll show you. This was all sanded down yesterday, wiped down, so I applied second coat of body filler here, just kind of smoothing it out. You can kind of get an idea of it right here. There was also a spot here where the former owner had a backup camera at one time, and I didn't want that since the original ones did not have that. So that's been filled, so now I just need to lightly sand this to mend that real good. And then working our way here along the back, I started mending right here where I added that bump out to shape around the taillights. Working on that now. And next time we get back in the garage, I'll go ahead and sand that smooth as well as shape this. You kind of get an idea right here how it kind of sticks up a little bit where that needs to actually come down and follow the body. Also need to shave that down a little bit so it's not sticking out as much. So after we shape all that, sand this first coat of body filler, then we'll come around with another coat and just blend that real good, and that'll wrap that up. Just finished the second coat, sanded it all down. As you can see, it looks very smooth. Looking good. Of course, when we prime it and prep it for final paint, any minor flaws will be accentuated and we'll take care of them at that point. All this has been smoothed down right here. A little bit of imperfections on here. Next time we're in the garage, I may just fine tune that a little bit and sand it down again, and I think we're good to go with that piece as well. And you can see there that hole where the camera used to be has been nicely filled in and sanded down. Looks good. Went ahead and gave just a very quick spray here coat of the color that we're planning on doing the car in, just to see how this mend looks. It actually turned out pretty good. Now keep in mind, I still need to go over it with a fine grit sandpaper. This is just a 60 sandpaper for the body filler, so it's still kind of rough. Just need to blend it a little bit better there, but other than that, it turned out pretty good. Well, this pretty much wraps up this time in the garage working on the Countach project. Anytime you're dealing with body work and stuff and sanding all this dust, I gotta clean this up. But anyway, this wraps it up. I hope this video was informative for you. I hope you enjoyed it. Please send me any questions, any comments. I would love to hear from you. As always, I appreciate all the support. Please like this video, subscribe to this channel. I'm always posting content on fixing vehicles and casino games, things like that. We'll see you next time.